session. I talked this morning, we had the governor's video about the opportunity for technology in the state. And I am so pleased to welcome the New Jersey State Senator Andrew Zwicker, who is a technologist himself. He's a scientist, he's an educator at Princeton University's Plasma Physics Lab, and also happens to be someone advocating for legislation to advance technology in New Jersey. So it is with a lot of pleasure I welcome Andrew Zwicker. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Hey everybody. I'll open with that song anytime. So, since I get to bring it on home and sort of close it up, I want to talk about AI and technology in a way that perhaps we haven't thought about it before, and something that's near and dear to my heart. But before I get to that, I just want to talk about the importance of Propelify, because I was here last year and I gave a much different talk. But someone came up to me last year to say, you know, there's a real problem in the startup community when it comes to how we can get access to capital. And the company is Neurotech, and it's right back behind you in the tents right now. And are you Neurotech? All right, so I'm telling a story about, there you go. So me and I talked last year about an issue related to how, you know, what is this about? It's about New Jersey becoming a real hub for technology and innovation. No offense to the Bay Area, but you've got Silicon Valley. I want Einstein's Alley or Einstein's Lane here in New Jersey. So we talked about some of the little details that are getting in the way. And one of them had to do with a loophole in the law for access to capital, that if you had an entrepreneur who was also working for a state university, they were not qualified to get some of the state funds, and that just didn't seem fair. So we worked together to put forth legislation to get rid of that loophole, and I don't think you know this, but Governor Murphy signed that legislation today. So, and the point of that is that when you have a governor who believes in innovation, when you have a legislature that believes in innovation, and since I represent the scientist legislator, you know, when you have people working together, you can make little things done that have a big impact. So look forward to talking some more after this. Okay, so I'm going to spend my time talking about AI in a way that I don't know if people are thinking about it, which is, I'm going to tell you that it says Senator. So I'm a physicist at the Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory. Anybody been there, toured it? It is New Jersey's only, I see one hand, thank you. Two hands, there we go. It is New Jersey's only Department of Energy national laboratory, and it is dedicated to the development of fusion energy. Anybody know what fusion energy is? I like saying, right? The ultimate source of energy. Doesn't care if the wind is blowing or if the sun is shining. It's safe. It uses seawater, hydrogen to combine into helium. It's building machines to recreate the core process in the center of the sun to make an ultimate source of energy that will transform our planet forevermore, right? It is the ultimate goal. There are 600 of us working on this right now, and that grand mission is what binds us and holds us together. The issue with the development of fusion energy is that while it happens on this beautiful day in the core of the sun and all the stars, it doesn't happen easily here on Earth. And building these machines are considered one of the greatest scientific and technical challenges that human beings have ever attempted. It's a worldwide effort. Princeton is the heart of it. New Jersey, the heart is for the United States, but it's around the world. Building these machines are complicated, and building these machines are expensive. And so the question is, how can we get there? How can we build these machines as quickly as possible? And the answer is artificial intelligence and machine learning. And here's why. I don't know if you know this, but in the history of aircraft, it used to be to design a new aircraft wing, you might have to go through building 50 versions of the wing, testing it in a wind tunnel, until you got to the one that was optimized that you could actually consider putting onto an airplane. And then computer modeling came around, and all of a sudden you could design that and model that on a computer. And so the development of airplanes sped up and got cheaper. It's the same idea when it comes to the development of a machine that uses powerful magnets inside a vacuum vessel, that container shaped like a donut that's bigger than this tent, where we recreate the conditions of outer space, put our hydrogen gas in there, heat it up to 100 million degrees, about 10 times hotter in the center of the sun. We can do that in 1 second, boom, 100 million degrees. Use magnets to hold on to it and cause it to fuse, right? I see the public people going, what are you talking about, right? We do that right now. We're just not doing it efficiently enough. So what could we do? We could take our theories of how to make it better and build the next generation machine and try it all out. And we're doing that. And that takes years, and it takes many, many, many millions of dollars. And so we are doing that and building some of the next generation, both here in the United States and in Europe and in Asia. But at the same time, and this is the point of the conference today, we can also use machine learning to design machines virtually at an unprecedented level of precision. And to do that doesn't cost hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. It costs something much smaller and a little bit of people time. And so we're using artificial intelligence and machine learning every day to design the next generation of fusion energy reactors. The idea being that the next one we build will be a quantum leap forward in what's going on. And you're all entrepreneurs. You should also know that the amount of private work now in fusion energy is taking off exponentially, right? This has been a government project for 72 years. The budget at Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory is about $130 million a year from the United States government. In the last decade, there have been multiple billion dollars now of private capital going in because we are now accelerated towards making fusion energy a commercial reality. That doesn't happen without computer-aided machinery, physicists, engineers, technicians, et cetera. But it also doesn't happen without machine learning and artificial intelligence accelerating how quickly we can build these. So we are on our way. I hope to come back to one of these talks one time and tell you that we are done. The question I'll leave you with this, people always ask me is, how quickly? Some of our private companies are saying that by 2035, fusion energy will be on the grid. We shall see, but if it's not then, it'll be in the next decade after that. It will transform life as we know it. Unlimited, clean, safe electricity, powered by our brains, powered by our machines, and powered by artificial intelligence and machine learning. So thank you so much for having me. Happy to sit down with Aaron and talk a little bit more.
Anything? There we go. We are going to dive into a few of these topics. The first one is why, everyone here, we talked this morning about people are here to propel ideas into action, to make big things happen. And you chose a path of scientist, which I'm assuming is rooted in understanding the world and science to make a change, but then took your career in this direction of politician. And I'm curious why you decided to make that change and how it's driven impact for you.
So I just saw a friend of mine I haven't seen in years, who I've known for 30 years, who also works in fusion, is now at Stevens. And we were talking about just this thing. And each of us, in my opinion, as we go through life, have certain doors that open up. Sometimes we are the ones who are pushing that door open, and sometimes people just open that door for us. Sometimes you don't even see the door. The question, of course, is, are you willing to walk through that? Are you willing to take a risk? So in my case, a door opened. I'm just going along my career at Princeton. I'm doing physics. I'm doing education, as you mentioned. Nowhere was I should go be a politician.
It's such a rewarding job.
So, I will tell you this. So I first of all, I miss teaching so much. I miss my students. It is fuel. It is oxygen, right? I love going back into the classroom. But when being an elected official, when politics works, it's oxygen. Because now I get to help make the lives of up to 9 million people better, right? Whether it is neurotech or whether it is someone who we're helping because they can't afford to pay their cell phone bill that day.
So we're going to go off topic for a minute here, because this is a really interesting point you're bringing up, which is I think there's a general sense, or certainly a frustration, that federal government doesn't work so well. And
why would you say that? I think it's working great right now.
Yeah, smooth as butter.
Here in New Jersey too, right?
But you're bringing up an interesting point that you get a lot of gratification out of actually being able to get things done. And I would love just your insights, again, way off topic, but you're here, on what are we maybe missing from the national dialogue that actually does make what you do on a state and local level significantly more impactful and gratifying?
That's a loaded question.
It is. Good luck with that.
Yeah, right? I'm like, where do I take this one? So let's skip, as best we can, the utter debacle that is happening in Washington right now, because I'm outside of that world. I don't care where you personally are on the political spectrum. I think we can all agree that it is just a disaster and a mess down there. In New Jersey, it's nothing like that. In the state legislature, it is genuinely nothing like that. I may be on the opposite side of an issue with some of my colleagues, but we still talk. We will still have a meal together. The collegiality that it used to happen in Washington is still there. And more often than not always, but more often than not, we can work in a bipartisan way to get things done. But I will also tell you that what is happening in Washington is absolutely filtering into state politics, and it's getting harder and harder and harder. And I'm worried about our country overall, but I'm worried about how that is infusing down. But to your question, it is still an unbelievable pleasure, and I really mean that, to be able to do, whether it's pass a law or make a phone call to help someone get through the red tape of bureaucracy, and it can transform their life. And we have stories where one phone call that led to one cell phone bill being postponed was all this person needed to get their life back together, and now they are a successful business person, and it was that one call.
So thank you for entertaining that question. But that is it sounds like a very authentic and response, and we appreciate what you do to lean into.
I'm a scientist. I'm only authentic.
Yeah, I think there's one gear, which is why you're here, actually. So back to the issue of technology. I mentioned this morning, we don't run Propelify in New Jersey just because of New Jersey, and it's all like New Jersey rah-rah. But we do, especially because of the association with and the production by Tech United New Jersey, want to make sure that people recognize the incredible opportunity that's here, how we can complement places like New York City. What do you think are some things that, sort of in the shadow of the headlines that happen out of New York City, what might people be missing as opportunities that are right in front of us here in New Jersey?
So, in some ways, I think it's even better to be in the shadows and just get our work done. Depending, number one, we have the best public education system in the country. Right? I don't know if that was a woo I heard out there for that line or not, but it's a true statement.
Private school student.
That was a private school student, right? So, that's an exciting place to live, but this is a wonderful place to raise a family and to send your children to school there. Two, the potential in New Jersey is enormous. Anyone who knows the history, and you certainly know the history of innovation in New Jersey, we were the innovation state. I'm going to go after the Bay Area yet again, I guess, right? We were, and we let it all go. And so what an exciting time to bring it all back. And so whether it is fintech in the shadow of Wall Street, whether it is renewable energy and fusion, whether it is aviation like it used to be down in the South, or the life sciences, which we still are the medicine chest of New Jersey, I think this is the place to be and will continue to be. And I love the fact that, plug for you, this Propelify just gets bigger and better every single year.
I appreciate that. How We've got PSEG here today who have opened my eyes to the idea of energy equity and how, there are implications around how corporations are run and services are delivered that may or may not necessarily be equitable. And in the context, and I think they've made huge strides. They've worked with us quite a bit to see how innovation plays a role there. When it comes to AI, and we think about the equity issue related to AI and the ethics in general, are there issues around policy that you're thinking about so that as this next chapter unfolds, New Jersey is set up for success?
Sure. I mean, equity, and whether it is energy equity, whether it is technology equity, is one of the single most important things that we should be focused on. We spend a lot of time talking about what's the potential of AI. We talk about, well, who's liable if something goes wrong in AI. We talk about movies that shows those fictional worst case scenarios of AI and worry that they could become reality. But the fact is, AI is but a tool that, like any other tool, can be used to make lives better. It, of course, can be used in for other reasons as well. So any technology needs, at the ground floor, to have a basic set of principles that includes equity. And so I know you're talking to PSE&G. I will tell you that, back to my talk before, as we get close to actually thinking about having commercial fusion reactors, we are sitting down nationally, not just in New Jersey, with social justice organizations, with environmental justice organizations, with everyone we possibly can, because the goal is we don't want to do this from the top down. We want to do this across the board from level playing field. Same thing in AI.
Is there anything that you're hearing specifically as people here build products leveraging AI that you would encourage them to think about that may not necessarily be on their radar at the moment that you're hearing from some of those organizations?
Sure. I mean, I think the question is always, I had this interesting talk with someone who's building a virtual meeting room platform. And we didn't get into that yet, but who is that for, right? And is it only for up here? And will it be across the board? And so we talked a little bit, without being explicit about it, that it was browser-based. It could be on any smartphone. And so it's the beginning of what can be equitable, but there'll be cost structures that are put into place. So, it's going to sound so cliche-y, but as you're developing your products, it is about making sure that it is for everybody, broadly defined. And that means coming out, I sit in my own little silos as well, coming out of our silos and having conversations with people, whether it's here or anywhere else, that we normally would not be talking to.
As far as your experience in education, there's a lot of discussion about the appropriate use of AI in school, which I think you mentioned earlier on. Some people made the argument that it's akin to a calculator and it should just be a tool set available to students. Others say it dramatically changes the game and changes our ability to think creatively and deeply. What's your view? Do you have a view on how AI should be used in a high school or college and university environment?
Yeah, I like the calculator analogy because, as a parent myself, I didn't want my kids to learn how to use the calculator before they learned how to do arithmetic, right? I wanted them to learn how to do some simple coding before they went off and said they were going to do whatever it might be where they didn't have to do it. You have to understand the basics. So can you ask ChatGPT to write a term paper right now? Yeah, you can. And by the next generation, it'll be able to write a PhD thesis. The question is, I don't know how we're going to stop this, but are we just going to let that happen and then not have young people learn grammar or learn how to put together a thesis and a motive and structure? So that's the challenge. Other than that, it's just a tool. And I would also say this, just like any other tool, right, when we talk about public policy, that's also, I think, how we have to think about it. It's just another tool. How does it fit into our public policy ecosystem?
So this community is a community of people who want to help one another out. How can we help you in your pursuit of trying to make New Jersey a better place?
How to help me? So how many people here, show of hands, have ever been to the State House in Trenton? Oh, man. All right. You have?
Can't get enough.
That was actually much better than I thought, because the answer is to get involved. I'm the only person of 120 members of the legislature that has this level of a technical background. But 119 other people know how important this is, but may not understand anything beyond the headlines, and they're looking. They are eager to talk to people like you about the challenges you face, because I guarantee you, all 120 of us want to learn, as we did with neurotech, about why the rules that exist now may not apply to the technology you're building out, and how we can possibly fix it. And I don't know that. I may understand how an algorithm works, but I don't know these little rules here, and neither will my colleagues. Advocating for, if you don't advocate for yourself, nobody else will, and then we'll come along and react and put together a structure that may not be the right one. So I would urge you, wherever you live, even if you live in the Bay Area, I'm just picking on them now for no reason at all, to reach out to your local state or federal legislator and talk to them about the challenges you face and educate us.
Just to be clear on the practicality of this, are you literally saying go to their website, find the contact form, email them some ideas, and they actually get read?
Go further. Ask to meet with them.
And they will take a meeting? Might?
Are we recording this?
No pressure to those other
Yeah, I see the
119.
camera right there.
Yeah.
They might not, but you're not going to know unless you find out. If you meet with their staff member, great. I have a staff member here right now. You should know staff members do all the work, right? And so meet with whoever you can. Start the conversation.
Senator Zwicker, I really appreciate your support over all the years and being here today. Can we get a big round of applause? Senator Andrew Zwicker.
Thank you.